Hey, it's Terry Bain. Thank you for joining us for another fun episode of Business Growth Time. Today, we're going to talk about the wild adventure this lovely co-host of mine just got back from. You know her, you love her, you've seen her. She's all over the place. The social media butterfly, Janet E. Johnson, where today the E stands for Egyptian Rosé. Just kind of fed me that in a little pregame. I like that. I was going with walk like an Egyptian, but Egyptian rosé is way.
We got to give a shout out to Brian and Jeff and Timmy. But anyway.
Yeah. We're done talking about all of that. That's the entire Egyptian rosé story. Got it. Sounds good.
Well, actually, if you want to talk the wine, we could talk a little bit about the wine. I am a Chardonnay Pinot Grigio drinker more than anything, but it was real strong there, and they don't, they have their brands. So we decided to try the rosé, which I don't touch in the United States because it's too sweet, but it was actually quite good. So that's what we ended up drinking, the Egyptian rosé. And you don't have to pay as much money for it because it's their Egyptian brand. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's very cool. So, all right, for Ernie, who doesn't know why we're even talking about Egypt or how we got to Egypt or what happened in Egypt or what this is, obviously there's a cat. Cats are very Egyptian.
Oh,
what,
yeah.
What actually happened? Why were you in Egypt? And start there.
Well, and we will, in the show notes, put a link to the blog post that I'm writing about because I kind of broke it down. But it was actually October 11th that I woke up to an email. And Terry was one of the first people I reached out to because I'm like, this is cuckoo. This is weird.
Is this real?
Is this real? I know. You even came back to me one point. You're like, no, it's a scam or something. You're like, it's a... And then you found the people on LinkedIn. And yeah, so he helped me kind of back up the research because I was asked to speak in Egypt out of the blue. I mean, I don't do a lot of speaking at this point, and I've done a lot of speaking in the past, but I just don't get, asked out of the blue for it, and especially in Egypt.
Totally different continents.
Yeah. So I thought, what in the world? And then I went to what the company is called. The actual event is World Youth Forum. So I went and looked, and they have like 1.2 million people on their Facebook page. I'm like, wow, this is quite an event, and I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it is something for the youth, and it's something, the World Youth Forum, actually, we should give it a background so that people understand what the World Youth Forum is. I wrote it in here. If you go to just worldyouthforum.com, that will tell you a lot, but it's a platform built by promising youth. So they really cater to the youth. And the president of Egypt was actually at the entire event, and a lot was built around government, and the government actually, I believe it's the government that pays for it. I don't know how it works exactly, but they had a deal with Egyptian Airlines, and so we all flew on Egyptian Airlines, and everywhere you went, you saw World Youth Forum. Every single place you went. I mean, it was plastered everywhere. I had no idea how big this event was. And I guess it was even in Times Square in New York. They had a huge, they bought that for World Youth Forum even. So it wasn't a small event. So that's the email that came in. And we did a little digging and decided that it looked like it was a go, and I accepted. And then it was a lot of back and forth because I had to hurry and get my passport. And just getting the tickets was very, very last minute with them. And one of the things we realized and learned over there is such thing as Egypt time. They kind of have their own time over there. Mm-hmm. And whereas us Americans are like, okay, come on, we got to be on time, and it's just not the same thing. Not Terry, but
we have Terry time right here in fabulous Ferndale. It's a thing.
Exactly. And there's a few, that's why go with the flow is what I had to kind of get used to, because holy cow, it was a lot of very last minute stuff. I was we didn't know our topic till Saturday at 5 o'clock, and we were on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So,
well, back up. You got this email on October 11th. It is November 15th. You were gone for 8 days, and you've been home for a few. So yeah, a little last minute, maybe.
Left in 3 weeks. Yeah. 3 weeks. And that's what every speaker was, pretty much the same story. So they did all this like that. Some people, I guess there were a couple, the most I had heard about 2 months in advance was the maximum I heard. And a lot of them were less than a month. Yeah. So
awesome.
It's fast, like fast moving. One of those things that honestly, you wake up in the morning and you just, you kind of go, it's almost like winning the lottery. I mean, or winning a trip, or, like, is this really happening to me? And even when I was in Egypt, I was like, am I really in Egypt? I mean, I had a dream I was in Egypt, and then I woke up and I'm like, I am in Egypt. Weird.
And for those of us who aren't following Janet on Instagram or Facebook, you probably should, because there's some really good photos out there.
Yeah, we did a lot, and I will be doing a story highlight. I did a lot of stories, and we'll do that. So it's Janet E. Johnson. Yep.
Janet E. Johnson.
Still posting some photos because I didn't get even close to the amount posted that I wanted to, but still putting a few in there. And I have my personal Facebook page. Anybody can see it because it is public, and you can look there. That had a lot of pictures. Yeah.
Looks like a gorgeous place to be, right? It was, I didn't know what to expect when you said you were going to Egypt. I didn't know that's where you were going.
So what happened was they ended up booking the flights, and we didn't get the flights we wanted. But learning later that the event was hooked with Egypt Air, we needed to get to Egypt Air. So our flights went from Minnesota to Boston to New York. So basically you're up, down. And then New York is when we got on Egypt Air. Now, Egypt Air, I will show you. Let me pull this up. Hold on one second. If you are watching by chance, you can see this because I will show you. Once we got on Egypt Air, we had accommodations that look like this.
Oh, so that looks horrible.
Doesn't even look real, does it? It is, I mean, we had full beds. We were business class, just huge amount of space, fed a 4-course meal, had free movies, had everything you possibly wanted in the business class. So that was our 10-hour flight. But it wasn't too uncomfortable. Let's put it that way. And by the way,
the cabin of this airplane.
Yeah.
The cabin of the airplane looks like it's 15 feet wide, and it's just amazingly large and spacious, and
3 seats in the middle, 2 on each side. It was a huge airplane. Huge. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there were 2 sections of business class in the front, not just one. Mm-hmm. So wild. I mean, I guess when you fly internationally, a lot of those airlines are better when it comes to business class. That's just what I've heard.
Sure, because they're long flight.
Yep, exactly. So then when we got we landed in Cairo, and I'll stop sharing now. We landed in Cairo, and we ended up flying then, and that was just all desert. And I did post a couple of pictures of Cairo. Did you see those by chance, Jerry?
I'm not sure. Probably.
I do have that on the bottom of this post right here. Cairo from the airplane. I mean, look at it. No green. And it's very crowded. I heard this has 4 to 5 million population, something like that. Very, very crowded, a lot of poverty. But I've heard some of the areas around it are just beautiful. People were saying, you really got to go to Cairo. You got to go to Cairo. But we just flew in and out. That was beautiful to see it. But I mean, it was just so different, very, very different. But when we landed, it looked about the same when you got to Sharm el Sheikh, but you could see more green.
Okay.
So The interesting thing in Cairo is you got there and it was a very, a smaller airport, and it changed to all of a sudden they took us on a bus to get out to the airplane to go to Sharm el-Sheikh. And it was a very small airplane, tiny airplane compared to what we had just gotten off of. So it was like night and day difference. Then that one just kind of went up and down and you were done because it wasn't far at all either. So then we got in there, and I tell the whole story in the blog post about the trip from the airport to the hotel. But long story short, we had no idea if we were in the right car. The guy didn't speak English, and we were like, are we going to live through this? No idea. So we finally make it there because I'm like, are you with the World Youth Forum? Are we in the right car? I mean, I'm like, no speak English. I'm like, oh my gosh. And as you're driving down the road, every 2 seconds, there's a sign for World Youth Forum, like another banner, everywhere you went. But every block is also armed guards with full masks, armed guns, all camouflage. Every second on the road that you're going down, you see that everywhere. Really? So it's like, wow, very different, very, very different. So then we pull into the Hyatt, and as we pull in, the guy stops the car. I'm like, oh, thank God, at least we're at the Hyatt, because we didn't know where we're going at all. We thought, are they going to take us out? And just, who knows? I mean, I didn't know what was going on. And we pull in, and they stop the car. And the guys, there's like 4 guys that go around the car, open the trunk, and check the car for bombs. And then you get through there, and then you go to another stop, and then they go check the car for bombs again, twice in the driveway just to get into the Hyatt. Every single time they do that with the buses and everything. Yeah. So it's very safe. I mean, it's safe, because they're definitely checking for everything and anything. Nothing's going to get in there. Then when we pull in, we get there, and you actually have to go through security with your bags and everything. So all your bags have to go through a security check just to get into the Hyatt too. And even at the event, we had to check passports and put our purses, everything through security also.
Well, that was one of the first discussions we had after the initial, is this look real? Is Egypt a safe place for you to travel, right? We had to go and have that conversation for a minute, or you did. I didn't really have to.
It was that, and it was also, what do you wear? Can you wear anything? All that kind of stuff. And
wait, this was a naked conference?
No, like, what can you, like, everybody's like, you have to cover your shoulders, all that kind of thing. You can't wear skirts. You need to wear long skirts. You need to blah, blah, blah.
Could you have a cold shoulder look, or
I had cold shoulders for everything. Yep, they didn't care at all. I asked straight up, and they're like, we don't care. Nobody cares. But it's also where we were located in Egypt.
So if you were in a different part of the country, might have different results.
Could be, exactly. This is more of a touristy area and that kind of thing, yeah.
So it did not cost you for additional wardrobe, because you'd have to go buy something shoulder.
I do have a few things, and I did bring a scarf in case, but I never even used the scarf once because the weather was so beautiful. You could go out at night with, but you should have bug spray. But you could go out with, I had a dress on one night with no sleeves and short skirt, and didn't matter. I was warm.
It was like 80, right? Wasn't it?
88.
Super
and
good.
No humidity at all. Yeah, you couldn't ask for more beautiful weather. Yeah.
And how close to the ocean were you?
Right there. Right there. Yeah. Red Sea. I was corrected. It's the sea, not ocean.
Yes. Thank you. The ocean. Silly Terry. Yeah, because seas don't ever connect to oceans. They're all very separate.
Yeah, exactly. But so safety-wise, well, you couldn't have been in a safer place because the president was there. So extra security was definitely.
Extra security because of him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But they have that typical security most of the time. And usually, and at the airport, they don't check you once. They check you twice at their airports versus ours is just one time that you have to get through the security. They make you do it twice. So you have to do it when you get off the airplane and get on the airplane again. kind of goofy, but they're just extra secure. So is it safe? Yeah, totally. It's just you have a lot more security to go through.
Okay. Like,
honestly,
so.
I hate to say it, but there were shootings here that, you know, people messaged me that there was some bus that had shootings in Egypt when I was there.
Okay.
And there were a couple of major shootings here. Hate to say it, but you know, it happens everywhere. Just because it's Egypt doesn't mean, you know, so it's a very touristy space. They have had a bad rap the last couple of years, and that's a part of the reason I think they even bring this about and bring people from all over the world to help show that, you know, it is a safe place and a great place to travel.
So talk to us about the World Youth Forum. Why does that exist? Who does it serve? Who cares? And like, what other cool spots have they been on that you may be familiar with?
This is their second year doing the World Youth Forum, and well, I heard third year, but somebody told me second, and I've heard third. But bottom line is, we met a lot of people that had attended last year, and then they got asked to come back this year. And it's basically serving the youth. So it's serving the young. If you go to the website, you can learn a lot more. But I did talk about it in here, and it's a lot of different reasons for it, but it's to bring people around the world together. And it's right here, it says it sends a message of peace, prosperity, harmony, and progress to the entire world. It engages youth from around the globe in an enriching setup, allowing them to exchange views and recommend initiatives to decision makers and influential figures. So there were people, a lot of people from government, there were a lot of leaders there, there was a lot of major influencers, internet marketing influencers and different types of influencers there. And then there was a lot of college students and that kind of thing. 200,000 is the number I heard. You know, that might be a little more than what it is, but had applied, and approximately a little over 5,000 attended.
What?
So you get in, but you get it's something that you have to apply and then you get it paid for. So it's not, it's tough to get in. Yeah, very tough to get in. So that's like, this is a bus. I'm showing here the bus that took us over there. This is my mother-in-law who I brought with me. And we're in front of like the huge background. That's just one side of it. It's like this entire gigantic screen. The screen was moving. And then this is in one area. I mean, it was just everywhere. Big, big, big event with lots of, and then there's my selfie in the picture with Brian Solis. And then this is when we were going to speak. So we had 12 of us on a panel. And we had one of the influencers, and his name's Jerome Jar. He's pretty cool. He has the Love Army, hashtag Love Army. So if you want to find him on Instagram, it's Jerome, Jerome, Jar, Jarre. And he does a lot to help the world and give back. So you can just see what he's been doing. But as you can see, he's a pretty big influencer. He has 1.7 million followers. And his posts alone, like 138,000 likes on his posts, you know, something like that. And he was part of my panel. So we ended up having quite the panel packed, and we believe a lot of it was because of him. A lot of people wanted to see him. And he's cute too, so I think the girls really like him.
No, he's adorable. I was thinking that when we were looking at oh, what a cutie he is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, kind of an interesting story behind him. But check him out on Instagram and follow him there. He's actually a Snapchat Vine star. He used to be on Vine and Snapchat, so he's really known for, it's kind of what they call him, the Vine Snapchat star. So they brought in a lot of different people like that, and just had a lot of different panels. A lot of different discussions, and it was not just marketing or anything like that. It was just a lot of different areas. We were in the digital marketing one, and then the one that the president was on was social media. Is it enslaving or saving? You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And what was the verdict?
They had a negative connotation with the whole thing. it was more negative than positive.
Mm-hmm.
Not a verdict, no verdict, because I mean, the panel discussed it and it was talked about throughout the thing. And that, if you go to the World Youth Forum page and you scroll enough, you will find the whole thing was recorded on Facebook Live. So it is on their Facebook page. But it was interesting. I mean, it was interesting. A lot of negative and just talking about how addictive it is, and it's how it's more addictive than cocaine, and you can't stop, put down your phone and that kind of thing. And just taking the time to actually be with people versus, I mean, when I was on the trip, my mother-in-law, she doesn't even use her phone at all. I'm like posting constantly, you know what I mean? She's like, you've been on your phone the whole time. And I go, well, I'm on a trip. I go, I have to. I gotta keep.
Right, but if you think about it in like a moment of sincerity and realisticness, do ya? I mean,
No, yeah.
don't get me
No.
wrong, I do it too. It's not.
Yep.
This
Yep.
isn't me talking to you. This is me talking to everybody. Do
Yep.
we really have to? Because it sure seems like we do, but
It feels like you do. Well, it feels like I do in our world because of what we do for a living. But in reality, I could have done much more.
yeah,
I could have. There were times where I ended up being able to get internet. This guy at the store I bartered with him and made a deal that he gave me a little box that I was able to get internet with me all the time. So that was nice. Because some people
negotiating at the bazaars.
Oh, if you only knew how many friends we had there. Yeah. We were best friends with the housekeeper. He got selfies with us. We made a lot of friends. The one thing about bringing my mother-in-law was she talks to everybody. I mean, everybody, and yeah, she was like my PR agent with me. So it was kind of
like had your own little Flava Flav, eh?
I did, yeah. So it was kind of funny. So it was good. Then other than that, I would say safety, it was great. Just being able to hang out with the people I was able to hang out with. We talked about Jeff Bullis and Brian Solis, and we ended up meeting another guy I wanted to mention. His name was Mark, and here's another big influencer. His name is Mark I don't know how to say Bustos. I'm not sure how to say the last name. MarkBustos. And what he did, he's a really cool guy. He ended up going in New York and started cutting the homeless people's hair because nobody was doing it. The news picked him up, and now he became quite a big influencer too. He has a great story. BeAwesomeToSomebody.com is his website. And just signed a deal with Nike. Pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So he's definitely really, really cool guy, and we hung out with them for a while too. So just the people we met and the stories to be told, it was an adventure. Every time we turned around, it was an adventure.
That is awesome. So name two things that were super memorable, and maybe name one lesson that you picked up from talking to people that have, over 1 million or over 100,000, depending on what we're talking about, followers, right? That's a lot.
I'd say the two most memorable, just the wow of the event alone, just I had no idea what I was getting into, kind of going with the flow. Just seeing when you got to the airport, everywhere you turned, you saw World Youth Forum. The planes were painted. Just going down the road, it was just everything was World Youth Forum. I had no idea the event was so astronomical. So that was one of the big takeaways. And then just the other was just the beauty. I mean, the beauty of the place was amazing. I mean, paradise, definitely it was paradise. Yeah. You can't beat it. Yeah. So kind of best of both worlds. Our session, there were some glitches with the speaking, but you just, like I said, you got to go with the flow, and we figured it out. And
12 people on a panel. How do you have 12 voices on one panel?
Let me share the screen. Let's see here. Think here it is. So this is Jerome on stage. And as you can see, here's the people on the panel. 1, 2, 3. I think it's actually 10 people. The other panel was bigger. And we had a gal that asked the questions right here. And then each of us had 7 minutes to go on stage. So we actually didn't sit on the panel. It was kind of one of those, we went up one at a time.
Oh, got it.
Little different. Yeah, we didn't know how that was all going to work out. The biggest, I guess the biggest glitch that happened behind the scenes is that the translation headsets did not work. So when I got up on stage, I had to pretend I knew what she was saying. And I had no idea.
Wow. Fortunately, you knew the questions ahead of time, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah. Yep. So I ended up bringing up my question and rereading it because a lot of the audience didn't know what she was saying, I figured. So I reread it in English so that people would know what the question actually was. So people thought that was smart of me because a lot of the people didn't do that. But by person number 7, I think finally the headsets finally started working. But yeah, so it was interesting. I know. I was like with the guy next to me. I'm like, oh, glad you're before me. I'm like, let's see how you handle this.
What a trip.
So last thing, lesson learned you wanted me to. So I was able to hang out with Jeff Bullis. He is one of the biggest internet bloggers, I believe, in the world. I don't know. He's just a very big influencer, has a lot of traffic, and he's very, very well known for the blogging world. And he suggested blogging more. Take a guess how much he blogs per month, how many blogs he pushes out per month on his.
30.
20.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So 20. So we kind of had a thing going on my goals. I'm going to aim at 2 a week just to kind of push it up. Right now I've been at less than 1 a week. So it's been pretty poor lately, but I used to do 1 per week at one point. So I need to ramp that up. So that was his big thing, is just really blogging more and focusing on the Google world. Social media works, but the Google world is what's always going to really drive the most traffic, and YouTube being one of those.
Okay. So when he says blog, how does he define a blog? Well, is it all written? Is it pictures? Is it images? Does it have to be cornerstone?
It has to have words. It does have to have a certain amount of words. We didn't discuss, and that's one of my questions, like how many words. Remember we interviewed, who was that? And he said you have to have like 1,500 words or something crazy.
Cornerstone content.
Yep. So bottom line is we didn't talk about that. I've heard minimally 300 words, but you do have to have words. But he also said, I like to do video better than writing. I can turn on a video and do video. We do this all the time. And he suggested, focusing on the YouTube, still not giving up the Facebook, but just, giving a focus to YouTube and then repurposing the content like we do with this podcast, and get it transcribed, write it out, and then you have a blog post.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Not making it complicated, I guess, put it that way.
Right. So don't go crazy and try and figure out 87 ways to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And it depends on what you're, most comfortable with. Like I said, I'm more comfortable with doing videos, and then that could be repurposed into the content, even though I can write too. It's just, I'd prefer to hop on a video.
I think that probably makes some sense. I go back and forth. I like to write, but I seem to do more video these days, just because it just feels so much faster. It's
faster. Yep, it is faster. But your issue is you're not getting those videos onto your blog.
Onto my blog, or what?
Yeah, you should have. So you're using those videos and you have great content on your LinkedIn and all these people are seeing it, but those should be repurposed into putting them on YouTube and embedding them into your actual website so that you're driving traffic to your website.
No, you know what? You're right about that. And the fact that I don't even have my YouTube is really dumb. Right? It's like, really? And it's just, the long list of stuff that's got
extra work. I know, exactly. So I think one of my biggest takeaways too was just, what am I wasting time on, and what do I need to focus more on?
Okay.
So I am going to not be doing social coffee time anymore. That will be gone. It was one of those tests. Just had to test it, but Facebook Live isn't what it used to be either. Not to say I won't do Facebook Live still, but it just won't be that show. And then
we talked about, I don't know if we talked about it on this show or if we just talked about it, but Michael Stelzner cut out 3 of his big shows.
that was actually in my what I spoke about. Yeah, I brought that up in the speaking. That was my session.
The blogging post that we referenced earlier was episode 89 with Mike Alton.
Yep. Okay. Yep. 89. Yep. He's great with blogging. And then the other side note was I did message Terry, but I haven't figured out how, and I can say this right live on here. The one thing that I took away from it is how many people were doing so much to help people with social media, through their social media, like these big influencers and what they're doing. And their stories were so cool, like Mark's story, Jerome's story. There's another YouTube gal's story. They're all doing things on the back end to make the world a better place. And the stories were so cool to hear. I was just thinking, if there's a way to bring that into this podcast, I think it would be pretty cool to have like a give back with social media and to interview these people, because I think that way we could bring that to light even more and just share the great things that are happening out there with social media.
Oh my goodness, if people would only figure out how to use social media for good and to give and to help organizations. Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry, I started doing that like 11 years ago. That was like the whole reason for social media for me, was to reach and help more people, right?
Yeah.
Why I got on it. So yeah, no, I think it's good. I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff, and that's exciting, right? Because that's where value lives. And the more you provide for other people, the more you get to create for yourself, and that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's why influencers, these guys are what they are, because they're doing so much good that they're giving back, and it feeds back to them.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So I love that. And that's a huge lesson and a great lesson. And we should probably figure that out at some point, because, using the platform to help others is really what it's all about.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Any last minute thought? Anything that you didn't talk about that you wanted to?
You know what? There were so many back end stories that I can't even go into all the different. Every day was a new adventure. So I'm doing a blog post about it. That won't even go into detail in all the different adventures that we had. But I mean, just the 22-hour flight alone was an adventure alone.
Are you closer to your mother or mother-in-law?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, we got along. We have always gotten along fine. So yeah, we had a great time.
That's cool.
She pushed through. She's not, a young chicken anymore, but we pulled an all-nighter the last night and everything, and didn't even go to bed, and went right on the airplane, and she somehow pushed through too. I'm like, wow.
Wait, back up. You pulled an all-nighter? Because that seems so far out of character.
Yeah, it was. I was just gonna head to bed, and then they insisted on us not going out with the team. That they're like, come out with us, and so then we went to this crazy wild treehouse place. I don't know, that I've never seen a place like it before. And yeah, we pulled an all-nighter. At 4 a.m. the shuttle came to pick us up to take us to the airport, and we didn't get sleep for hours. Yeah, so we were awake for like 36 hours or something like that before we finally got sleep.
Wow, giddy up, girl. That's fun.
Gee, no wonder I've been sick. Yeah,
I can't even figure it out now. Awesome. Well, Jana D. Johnson, I must tell you, I'm a little envious. So there's another E word for you. An amazing experience.
Adventure. It was fun. Now back to Back to the ball game.
Back to it. Well, good. Thank you for sharing your story and your adventure with us. That was really cool. And who knows what we're going to talk about next? I can hardly wait to find out.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And be sure to follow us on, we actually have a group on Facebook, and it's businessgrowthtime.com.xyz. That's how you can get there. Otherwise, just search it on Facebook.
Yeah, it's businessgrowthtime.xyz.
Did I do .com again? I cannot do that one. I don't know. Okay. Terry always has to I did it a couple times, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to just give it up and say, go to Facebook and search it. But anyway. And then also we do have a ton of past episodes that talk about business networking and social media. So be sure to go back and look at our blog and search and listen to some past episodes. All right. Thanks for your time today.
Bye-bye.